So let's talk RFK Jr. RFK Jr., they say, got a round of applause during his hearing, his Senate hearing. You know, all Trump appointees is basically going through the Senate hearing. They going through the motions unnecessarily, even though they know that people go get appointed. They just want to get their 5 minutes of fame. RFK Jr. got a round of applause during his Senate hearing. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock.
Mr. Kennedy, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your decades-long advocacy for a clean environment, for children's health. I can't say as I'm surprised by the hostility on the other side. I'm highly disappointed in it. I don't know if you remember when you called me up and you were contemplating setting your political differences aside, joining forces with President Trump on an area of agreement, addressing chronic illness, trying to find the root cause of all these problems facing this nation. My first response was, Bobby, this is an answer to my prayers. We need to get to the answers of this, but even more, we need to heal and unify this divided nation. I'm not necessarily the most optimistic guy because we've got enormous challenges facing this nation, but I thought, wow, here's somebody from the left, somebody I don't agree with on many issues politically, coming together with President Trump and focusing on an area of agreement, something that the American people desperately want. Finding out the answers. What has caused autism?
Yeah.
What is causing chronic illness?
Yeah.
Ms. Kennedy, I think I've come to know what's in your heart. I think I know the personal and political price you've paid for this decision. I want to say publicly, I thank you for that. I truly appreciate what you're doing here.
I think that RFK Jr., and this is personally, shout out to my girl Carrie. I think that RFK Jr. probably has one of the most important positions within the administration. I mean, they're all important, right? You could talk about defense, you can talk about finance, you can talk about Tulsi Gabbard, you can talk about the military, you can talk about a lot of different things, right? But when we talk about our personal health and what we consume on a daily basis, and the fact that there's people that are enriching themselves, if y'all want to take up an issue, right? You ain't got to take up an issue with DEI. You ain't got to take up an issue with Target. That's a publicly traded company. You ain't got to feel some type of way about Walmart. You ain't got to get mad at Fat Joe. If y'all had just as much energy and vigilance towards A, the people that are local legislators in your own communities, and B, of what they putting into y'all food, maybe I would actually join in on y'all crusade. RFK Jr. probably has one of the, if not the most important position inside of this administration as an appointee of Trump. Because what we consume and what we put in our food, listen, we just so what happened to wake up, they got 50 ingredients inside of a bun. Inside of a bun is 50 different items inside of a bun that make up a bun. Everybody is on a spectrum now. Everybody got autism. Everybody got ADHD. You can't focus. Everybody need therapy. Man, if this ain't the biggest profit driver in the world, I don't know what is. If y'all wanted to take up, because see, I don't know how anybody can go against RFK. He wasn't even traditionally a Republican. He just aligned himself with Trump specifically because he knew that Trump didn't really care about politics. He cared more about policy, and he cares more about fixing his country authentically. So there is no incentive for Trump to not have somebody like RFK oversee what's happening in our FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and see what we got going on in our food. Absolutely, this is an important thing. And I don't even know why he got into a beef. Let me pull up this beef that he had with Elizabeth Warren. They said him and Elizabeth Warren was going back and forth and a little spat. Democrats aggravate me because they can't even find Nobody. It's nobody that you like. Nobody. The only person that you like is the people that's a part of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
In the meantime, we should more.
I think you and I agree on, and that is that Big Pharma has too much power in Washington. You said that President Trump asked you to, quote, clean up corruption and conflicts. Sounds great. You've said that you will, quote, slam shut the revolving door between government agencies and the companies they regulate. That also sounds great. So here's an easy question. Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member?
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit
You're
to
not going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Who? Me?
Yes, you.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this.
So
I don't think
aggravated
any
with
of
her
them want to
already?
give me money, by the way.
Let's keep going. You're right because to say yes, because every American has the right to know that every decision you make as our number one health officer is to help them and not to make money for yourself in the future. So I want to talk more about money. I'm looking at your paperwork right now. In the past 2 years, you've raked in $2.5 million from a law firm called Wisner Baum. You go online, you do commercials to encourage people to sign up with Wisner Baum to join lawsuits against vaccine makers. And for everyone who signs up, you personally get paid. And if they win their case, you get 10% of what they win. So if you bring in somebody who gets $10 million, you walk away with $1 million. Now, you just said that you want the American people to know you can't be bought. Your decisions won't depend on how much money you could make in the future. You won't go to work for a drug company after you leave HHS. But you and I both know there's another way to make money. So, Mr. Kennedy, will you also agree that you won't take any compensation from any lawsuits against drug companies while you are secretary and for...
She went the long way around just to try to throw him under the bus based off of the fact that he need to be able to feed himself. And so the money that he generates is based off of an endorsement or a sponsorship, similar to how we have endorsements and sponsorships over here on YouTube as content creators. So he does commercials like everybody else. And he does a commercial, and for every return on investment that they've made and given to him, he gets a percentage of the success rate when they are successful. So now she's trying to leverage that and use that and try to make it seem like he's a bad guy, when in reality, it's an endorsement, it's a sponsorship.
4 years afterwards.
Get your bag, big dog.
Well, I'll certainly commit to that while I'm secretary. But I do want to clarify something, because you're making me sound like a shill. I put together that case. I did the Science Day presentation to the judge on that case to get it into court.
Mr. Kennedy, it's just a really simple question.
I hate it.
You've taken in $2.5 million. I want to know if you will commit right now that not only will you not go to work for drug companies, you won't go to work suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that while you're a secretary and for 4 years after. It's just...
I'll commit to not taking any fees from drug companies while I'm secretary.
No. I'm asking about
Shut
fees
the hell
from
up.
suing drug companies. Will you agree not...
Jesus. Ooh. Gosh. Dog, I'm used to this from women that look like me. And maybe it's just based off of proximity. I'm not used to this from these other women. Good Jesus Christ. Woo. That, y'all want to know what drive a dude up a wall? That. Dog, I went off on somebody for over talking me the other day. Honest to God, I went off on somebody for over talking me the other day. I said, dog. I said, oh, so wait a minute. So every time I start talking, you gonna start talking? You know what? Boop. Yeah. Just like. I don't like that. I don't like that. I already believe that women are better with their mouths. You look better with your mouth closed. Listen, you so gorgeous. Don't open your mouth and prove yourself to be a fool. That's what the Lord said. The word says, don't prove them right. Don't prove them. I said, Jesus. Start making my ass water. You ever has a woman talk to you so long that your eyes start watering and then they tell you that you don't communicate well? Dog, I will check out in 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, I'm going to take a nap. Honest to God, I'm going to take a nap immediately.
To do that.
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
No,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint people to the CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the
Somebody said that Elizabeth Warren was doing some native call. Is that true?
Schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits, so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
you're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die.
You know what we call this? Honestly, you know what I call this? I call this making a movie. Yo, she just made a whole movie. Kids might die. You're going to get rich. You're going to sue everybody. What? RFK Jr. is honestly, he probably the realest of them all as far as being transparent about his fight. All you got to do is look at RFK Jr.'s history. If anybody has not understood RFK Jr., he went against his own family. His whole family has turned against him for his stance against things and the things that they believe, especially as far as being far left liberals, and his dedication to make sure that we clean up our food and the Food and Drug Administration and these pharmaceutical companies and his war against what they got going on in our food. If anybody, man, this is, I mean, because God, that woman is like a hyena. If anybody, just based off of their background, is more dedicated to fixing what we put in our bodies, from the vaccines to the food that we eat, it is RFK Jr. She just made a whole movie out of nothing. Literally, she just made a whole movie out of nothing.
But Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
All right.
Women like that'll make you check out. Honest to God. Leave me alone. Get me up out of here. Ladies, don't be that. Don't be that. Please don't be that. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.